What's up, guys? Michael Gibson here, Ion Prime Entertainment. How you doing? And well, today I wanted to just kind of show off a little bit of my original Nintendo Entertainment System collection that I have. Little backstory on this. I believe this is about 4 years ago. I got a call from my dad, and he said, "Hey, meet me after work. I found a little something I think you might like." And I'm like, okay, that was about all he gave me. So I met him after work, and he gave me this box, and he's like, "We found this in the back corner of our closet." I open it up. It is my original Nintendo Entertainment System, the one my mom and dad got for me and my sister for Christmas way back in 1988, I think it was, 89, somewhere in there. I was so excited. That was so awesome. I thought the thing was long gone, obviously. But obviously had the system in there, had several games. Some of the games that I did have were missing, but that's beside the point. But it was so cool. So cool that I now have my original Nintendo Entertainment System that I had when I was a kid, which is absolutely awesome. And I mean, for the most part, it still worked. I had to replace a couple of parts in it. But hey, it was great, and that just kind of energized me to start collecting for the system once again, picking up a lot of the games that not only that I loved, but maybe some that I never got to try out, and you know, maybe just a couple of just extra ones just cause. So that's kind of what I want to do, show off here today, is just showing off some of these games that I've picked up. Obviously the system is back here going, but first of all, we'll start with this little stack right here. I'm just going to take this first little half off. And first game this is one that I actually never heard of, but I've seen some other YouTube channels talking about it and thought, you know what, I'd pick this game up and give it a try. I still have no idea how you say it, but I believe it's Astyanax? I don't know. Anyway, it's actually kind of a fun little platforming game with the dude with the axe, and I don't know, it's kind of fun. I've kind of enjoyed this game since I got it. Next up, I'm going to set these right here. Next up is Batman. This game, extremely frustratingly hard. I've still got it in the sleeve because I actually have the manual for this game as well, which is pretty cool. But yeah, frustratingly hard. I don't think I've ever actually beaten this game as much as I've tried to play it. Yeah, so. Next up, I mean, this is a staple, I think, in most people's collections, Blaster Master, kind of a fun, pretty fun game there. Bases Loaded 4, I very much enjoyed the Bases Loaded series. This is actually one of the games that was still with the Nintendo in that box that my dad found. But yeah, I definitely love Bases Loaded 4, any of the Bases Loaded games on the original Nintendo. Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Rangers. I mean, kind of a fun little platforming game from Disney at that time. And I never had much experience with this game. I never actually had this game when I was a kid, but I definitely wanted to pick it up at some point and did, and definitely enjoy it as well. Next up, this was a game that I never knew actually was on. I mean, the original was, but I never knew there was a sequel. And you know what? I still have not sat down and played it. I probably need to. Dig Dug 2. But I found this at one of our local shops here in town and thought, you know, I'll just pick this up and add it to the collection. It'd be fun. Next up, this is a game me and a buddy of mine absolutely love to play together, and that is Double Dribble. Pretty cool. Great basketball game, and we know from the Family Guy episode where they make fun of the little glitch that's in there as well. Next up, I'm a big fan of RPGs. Final Fantasy, obviously one of my favorite series. I still need to get the Final Fantasy games for the NES. Have not done that yet, but I will at some point. But another great RPG series that was on the Nintendo Entertainment System, Dragon Warrior. And I think most people do have this in their collection as well. And got the manual for this one too. So that's pretty cool. It's fun getting these manuals because I miss that in modern games where we don't, you know, the manuals are basically in the game, but we don't get the actual fold out, open it up, take a look, read the manual. Those are always so fun. Love having these. Next up, a couple of volleyball games that were on the NES that I really liked. The first one, Kings of the Beach. A lot of fun. You played at Sinjin Smith. What was his partner's name? I can't remember his partner's name now, but yeah, very fun volleyball game that is on the original Nintendo. All right, getting to the next part of this stack. Shoot 'em up's another favorite genre of mine, and obviously one of the best, Gradius, that is on the original Nintendo. Next up, we have a light gun game, which I do have the light gun. Now, the light gun was not with the Nintendo that my dad brought to me, but I managed to find one at a local shop here. And one of those great light gun games, and I'm gonna find a better copy of this because obviously this cover is all ripped up, but Hogan's Alley, which is still a lot of fun. And for this one, I got the manual for it as well, but still a ton of fun to be able to put this in and play with the light gun. Next up, one of my favorite arcade games, even though I'm not really very good at it, but I still enjoy playing it, Spy Hunter. Yeah, love that. Next up, the other volleyball game that I very much enjoyed on the original Nintendo, Super Spike V-Ball. Very much enjoyed playing this game. I think it was this one or Kings of the Beach. Kings of the Beach that we used to play a lot at little church gatherings that we would have when I was a kid. Next up, a couple of staples, or one staple, obviously, on the Nintendo. You got Tetris. Obviously, you got to have that if you have an original Nintendo. But also, Tetris 2, which is not as good. I understand, I know. But it's Tetris 2, and actually have the manual for this one as well. All right, and then we'll get to one of the final games. People love to hate this game. I've always loved this game, always. Top Gun on the original Nintendo. Always loved this game. Yes, it's very difficult, but I still like it. And of course, this one, I have a manual for it as well. All right, now we're going to get into some. These are just kind of some of my favorites that I enjoyed having on the Nintendo. But I'm going to get to some that were some of my absolute favorites to play on the system. First up, Tecmo Super Bowl, obviously. Now, Tecmo Bowl, very good. Tecmo Super Bowl was definitely my favorite. Hours and hours and hours and hours playing this game, whether in season mode or just picking up and playing a preseason game or whatever. But yeah, Tecmo Super Bowl. Absolutely love this game. Next up, big fan of this game in the arcade. And, you know, at that time, thinking that you could play an arcade game at home was just absolutely out of the question. And to actually have an arcade game on a home system and be able to play it at home, that was just an absolute awesome. We got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game. And with this one, I managed to find a manual for it as well. And even got the Pizza Hut tie-in that went along with that. But this is really good. A really good version of having the arcade game. Next up, this was another game that was actually still with the Nintendo. My dad brought it to me, and that is Ninja Gaiden, the original Ninja Gaiden, which is definitely a lot of fun, very difficult. I still have not beaten this game. Yeah, but still love it. Next up, a great racing game that was on the original Nintendo, RC Pro-Am. Really like this game. I believe, yeah, there was different weapons and stuff in this game as well, but got the manual for RC Pro-Am as well. Next up, and this was another game that was actually still with my Nintendo, and this was definitely another favorite of mine that I played a lot in the arcades, and that is Rolling Thunder, which is on one of the Tengen discs, or Tengen cartridges that was out. But loved Rolling Thunder, one of my favorite arcade games, and to have this at home was really cool for me. Next up, another couple of really fun games that I've always enjoyed. First of all, Gauntlet and the Tengen cartridge. And then I have Gauntlet 2 as well. Love both of these games. A lot of fun. A lot of great time spending with those. Another one of my favorites, and I actually never knew that this was an actual arcade game. It was a friend of mine had this game, and that's how I got to play it and got to really start to like this game, and that is Gunsmoke. Since then, I have played the arcade version, which is a lot of fun, but definitely love the NES version of Gunsmoke. Next up, this is another game that was still with the original Nintendo my dad brought to me, and this is another arcade game that I loved a whole lot playing in the arcades, and was really happy to have this at home. But that is Heavy Barrel. Definitely a very fun game on the original Nintendo. Next up, this game's kind of easy. It gets really, really repetitive, but it's still a lot of fun. And I played this one a little bit in the arcade too. I believe you had the steering wheel that you would use to go around the different tracks. But you got Ivan Ironman Stewart's Super Off-Road. And I believe this game was on the Super Nintendo as well, which is that was closer to the arcade version than this one was. But this was definitely a lot of fun, and definitely enjoyed that one a lot. Next up, one of my other favorite shoot 'em up games that was on the original Nintendo. I actually played this one a lot more than I did Gradius, and that is Life Force. A lot of fun. Beat this game so many times, even as difficult as it is, but love this game, Life Force. Another one of the great one of my favorite arcade games. Love playing all the time. Drop so many quarters in it, and then to be able to have it at home, even though, yeah, but still, Bad Dudes. Love having Bad Dudes, be able to play that at home, especially after going to the arcades and being able to play it there. So it was a lot of fun. And finally, the final game on this particular showcase is The Adventures of Bayou Billy. I think I've beaten this game once and have never been able to get back to get to the final boss once again. But this was definitely one of my favorite games on the original Nintendo. Definitely super difficult as well, but I did very much enjoy it. Kind of love the the different aspects of the game would take. So you'd have like just a regular level, and then you have a level you need the light gun with, and then you have another level where you're doing like driving. That was a lot of fun, but definitely loved The Adventures of Bayou Billy. So now I'm going to get to some of my favorite series that was on the original Nintendo, and and I'm kind of very happy that I now have a full collection of these on hand. And first off, Castlevania series has always been a favorite of mine. Castlevania 1, 2, and 3 on the original Nintendo, Castlevania 4 on the Super Nintendo, Castlevania Bloodlines on the Sega Genesis. That was definitely one of my favorite games. And just on up through the generations. Definitely love Castlevania, but the original Castlevania, the first one, and I do have the manual for this one as well, but love the original Castlevania. Next up, Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest. I've never beat this game. Would definitely need a guide because I do know how confusing this particular game is, but I've never beat it. And then one of my newest editions, which I just actually was able to pick this up a couple of weeks ago, found a copy at a very decent price. You can see it rolling back here. Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse. This, as anyone, was my favorite of the Castlevania games on the original Nintendo. But love Castlevania 3, Dracula's Quest. I remember Dracula's Curse, excuse me. I remember the first time I ever beat this game because I've been playing on it for so long and trying to get to that final boss, and it was so satisfying to finally be able to finish this game and to be able to brag to my friends that, hey, I was able to finish Castlevania 3. Pretty cool. So another one of my favorite series, and obviously for a lot of folks as well, is the Contra series. And love the Contra series on the NES. I never played a whole lot of Contra 3 on the Super Nintendo. I think I played more of Contra Hardcores on the Sega Genesis, but definitely played a lot of both of these on the original Nintendo. The original Contra and Super Contra. Now, Super Contra was actually still with the Nintendo that my dad brought to me, so this is actually my copy that I've had since forever ago. But Contra I was able to pick up several months ago here locally, and it still works great. One series that I am missing that I will be picking up at some point is The Legend of Zelda. That was definitely another one of my favorites, especially the first Legend of Zelda. But I will definitely be picking up those when I can find them at a fairly reasonable price. Some people like to overprice the Legend of Zelda cartridges, so once I can find those at a pretty decent price, I will definitely be adding the Legend of Zelda series back to my collection. But obviously the final group of games is, again, I think everybody's favorite on the Nintendo, but very cool to have all three of these games now. And that is Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers 2, and Super Mario Brothers 3. Super Mario Brothers 3, this is mine. This was still with the Nintendo that my dad brought back to me. I think this was probably the first game that I had saved up my money to go and buy when it came out. And I believe I bought it at Montgomery Ward. Yeah, so Super Mario Brothers 3, obviously probably the best, one of the best all-time games of all time, not only on the Nintendo, but have the manual for that one as well. And Super Mario Brothers 2, and the manual for that one as well. And then obviously the Super Mario Brothers Duck Hunt combination that came with the system, and the manual for that one as well. Surprisingly, this was not with the Nintendo my dad brought to me, so I don't know what happened to that particular copy. I'm sure it just got lost or picked up over time. Who knows? But anyway, just thought I'd take a moment and show off what I have in my particular Nintendo collection. Obviously, in my collections, I'm not one of those that wants to do like 100% full on complete every single game that was ever there. These games are some that I played and some that definitely meant something to me as far as what I played when I was growing up, and what I'm kind of more interested in getting back into playing, or maybe playing for the first time, some games that I never got around to having at the particular time. So this will probably be pretty much all that I will add to this particular collection, minus the Legend of Zelda series. There might be one or two other games that pop up. There are some. I do want to get the Metal Gear games as well. I never actually had those on the original Nintendo. I've played them a little bit outside of that, but I do want to add the Metal Gear games because I've been a huge fan of Metal Gear, especially since Metal Gear Solid on the original PlayStation. Legend of Zelda Batman, Return of the Joker. I do want to find that game at some point. That game kind of goes up and down in price, and is definitely a little hard to find, but definitely want to add that to my collection just because I remember renting that game and playing it a little bit. And I know it's kind of more of an advanced, or I don't know what's the best word. It really takes advantage of everything the Nintendo can do, and really shouldn't have been on the original Nintendo, but was able to be played on there. So definitely want to find that game and add it to the collection. I think there's one or two others that I may want to do, but just haven't quite figured out those just yet. But for the most part, I'm pretty happy with what I have in my collection so far, and I want to say thank you very much for watching this little show off of my Nintendo Entertainment System collection that I have. Thank you so much, and be sure to subscribe if you like this video. And I've got, I don't know, 4 or 5 other videos. Probably my best one is showing off the Streets of Rage 4 Collector's Edition that I got from Limited Run Games. We can definitely check out that video, but be sure to subscribe, ring that bell so you get notifications whenever I do upload these videos, and hopefully over time I'll start adding some more videos a little bit more often than what I've been doing, but we'll definitely very much enjoy having you as a subscriber and watching these videos. So again, thank you so much for joining me, and thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.